African American men are being killed by white cops, even though the statistics don't bear that out, so we need to hold the police to higher standards. Also, liberalism's take on law enforcement. Too many minority police applicants are failing the psychological portion of the police examination in Minneapolis, so we ought to reduce it. I see no way how this could possibly fail. According to American public media, the Minneapolis Police Department is considering firing the man in charge of determining how police recruits are psychologically evaluated. Earlier this year, Mohammed Noor, a police officer approved under the current standards, shot Justine Damond Ruzchik, a woman who had called the police to report domestic violence. So surely Dr. Thomas Grazer, who eliminated 4 out of the 5 tests traditionally used to screen applicants, is possibly facing redundancy due to the laxity of the city's current standards, right? Actually, quite the opposite. Minneapolis is now poised to replace Grazer, but not because of the doctor's testing protocol, credential or high cost, American public media reported. Police leaders appeared unaware of that information until told by a reporter. Instead, they said, they decided to search for a new mental health evaluator because Grazer screened out a larger percentage of minority applicants, which alarmed them. Emphasis mine. It's curious that they weren't worried about cost. Dr. Grazer, who is employed by a firm called Evamed, charges $1,300, which is double or triple what the city used to spend on mental health evaluations. And yet, that's even after Minneapolis had been busy cutting its testing regimen. Up until 2012, 5 psychological evaluations were used by the Minneapolis Police Department to screen applicants. A 2004 federal study concluded that this was an effective method to screen out problem candidates. But, nope, out the window they went, although diversity didn't appear to be a direct factor in the decision. Indeed, APM noted that Minneapolis has taken an inconsistent approach to the psychological screening process, frequently changing evaluators and leaving it up to them to decide which tests to administer. However, given that the laxity of testing produced results that led to too many minorities being left off of the force, one doesn't assume the police department's methods are going in the direction of stringency. And then we come to the case of Mohammed Noor. Mohammed Noor, who had been on the force less than 2 years, shot Ruzchik as she approached his squad car, APM reported. She had called 911 twice that night to report what she thought was an assault. Noor's partner, according to a search warrant, became startled by a loud sound caused by someone, presumably Ruzchik, slapping the vehicle with their hand just before the shooting. Now, of course, there's no way to know post hoc whether or not the 5-test method would have weeded him out as being a poor fit for law enforcement work. However, there is enough correlation to at least consider causality. Noor was the subject of 1 lawsuit and 4 complaints in less than 2 years on the force. Complaints against law enforcement happen all the time, and aren't necessarily indicative of poor performance or misconduct. This said, 4 complaints and a lawsuit is far above average for an officer in such a short period of time. APM notes that, fewer than 40 of the city's more than 800 officers have received 4 or more complaints since 2015. Thanks to diversity concerns, one assumes that number might be going higher. If Minneapolis were firing Dr. Grazer due to the fact, under his watch, the city decided to relax psychological testing far below standards shown to be effective by federal studies, fine. But the great irony is that, even as the Minneapolis City Council is calling for better psychological testing of law enforcement officers and applicants, Grazer is being fired because he's weeding out too many people. The irony, and danger, is apparently lost on them.